I am the geek protagonist, and I am actually very busy, but I came across the video that made me end up looking into something. I'll put the link into the video for the art where this came from. This came from, well, it started with Clownfish, but it's doing this whole situation. So, Wizards, because this one moron, and that's what I'm calling him, a moron, went online and cried about orcs are racist, even though there's nothing that can make that racist, especially if you're comparing them to people as you were, and these cultures as you were. And the problem is, there are humans in there. I play D&D. I'm a bugbear right now. I've been a half orc. I've been a human before. You're playing something else. You're playing a fantasy. Orcs can go away from being dark, but we're talking about a fantasy world where gods and things exist and create things. But somehow, some way, you have to be PC in your own made-up fantasy world. Wizards, you're there to supply the game setup. You're not there to control what we have to deal with. But no, of course, every single thing keeps going down this Puritan, I hate to say it, social justice SJW thing, because there is a difference between a social justice person and a social justice cause and a social justice warrior. Social justice warrior, normally, that's why I say SJW, because you don't normally touch the product, play the product, or do it. You just want to stick in there like Anita, rip everything up, mess it up for everyone, and go, now we're done, move on to the next thing. Like a freaking locust. So now they have sensitivity readers. Like saying, well, we need to make sure they're not racist. And we need to make sure they're not prejudiced. To who? To who? Who is prejudiced? It's an orc. At one point in time, they were just a little couple steps up from a goblin. World of Warcraft have orcs being relatable and okay. But that's because that's a different fantasy setting. Still based around the idea of D&D. There has been campaigns I've seen. I've bought an orc book where I think it has orcs and dwarves, but I have to finish the orc book first. But it's like the orcs were making jokes about how people view them and stuff because they're a different species. Even if you do a campaign where there's a magical way to make a half orc, there's a intimate way to make a half orc, or they just are a different type of thing. That's how it is because that's how the stories go. It's supposed to be you set the things up to do it, but you're not supposed to be sitting there worrying about, well, are we offending black people? Are we offending these people? You're getting ridiculous. It's a fantasy story with gods. Then you got whiz kids who end their relationship with Robert Burke. So I'm like, and I actually, funny enough, I actually saw a ping about this. So then it was funny. I seen Clownfish talk about it. And like I said, I'll link to his, try to link the video in the description so you can see them. He's probably more clear than I am. But I already kind of read this because it came up on my IGN feed. And I'm like, Robert Burke, I've heard of that person before. So what happens is I see this article or something where IGN calls him a bigot. And I'm like, all right, let's see what this is about. When you see what he says, so basically he said something on his Facebook. And it was something along the lines of, you don't have to believe all women. Some women do lie. Now, there's people who apparently take offense to this, but by you saying believe everyone of something, and that could be anything. You could say believe all black people, believe all kids, believe... You're not acknowledging the humanity side of it. For the cases that happen, which are terrible, and these things are going on and they need to be investigated, you do have cases like Chris DeLay, the comedian, Angry Joe, Michael Elgin, the wrestler. Who else? There is another one. I can't think of the name right now. Oh, Johnny Depp. People lie. But That's also his take. Now, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but that's what his point was. Like, there are people that lie. There's evidence right there. I just named a few people that the women lied in the situation, or at least evidence is starting to show that, I should say, about how they cut out pieces and why. And people go, well, why would they lie? People lie for a lot of reasons. They lie for clout. They lie for money. They lie for attention. They'll lie for blackmail. They'll exasperate something. And I don't even mean just in that kind of category. In different things, people lie for different reasons. Sometimes they just don't like somebody. But yeah, but back to what he was saying. So he said you don't have to believe all women. Silence doesn't equal violence. So I guess he's talking more on lines of like, if I'm not speaking, that doesn't mean that I'm physically attacking you, as if like someone else who physically would attack you. Um, and he also said a thing about being obese. He had a couple of words on there saying something. Basically, he's saying that it's not healthy to be obese. It can actually possibly kill you. It affects your happiness and things like that. And he said, trust the police and respect the flag. God loves you. Now, this is his opinion, whether you agree with him or not, but this is his opinion. It wasn't combative or anything. He was saying, pretty much this is how I see the world, and I see that not all police are bad. I've done a video about that. Not all police are bad. Not all cases of people lie either. Like, you have to go with the benefit of the doubt, but you also need to, check the evidence, check the stuff. Like, you got to make sure you're thorough. I believe in the court system myself personally, even though it's has some broken parts to it. It's not perfect, but the court of public opinion is not to me anywhere near as good or developed as the actual court. As I suggest people do, if someone does something wrong, you call the proper authorities, you take that person, you take them down, especially if they really did it because, or you got the proof, especially that you can really nail it to them. And I know it's hard, but I say do that because you stop them from doing that behavior to other people. You're helping out other people by doing it. But I do know sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's a position, and I'm not saying that person has to. If they're stuck in a, undermining position where this person's up here and they're down here and they're trying to get their careers. But, you do want to stop those kind of people. If they're doing bad stuff, you want to stop them. But I just saw it more as counter opinion. I didn't really see it as hate speech, but they're saying that was hate speech. I'm like, well, he's giving an opposite opinion. But then it's like, but I there's a video I'm gonna do. You'll see because you'll know the title. The title's wild. I have noticed that people keep doing this whole thing of they're like, well, you have to listen, but then you also at some point have to have a conversation. Both sides need to talk. You can't just keep telling everyone to shut up and listen all the time because they're going to keep listening. But if they keep listening and no action, there's nothing there. You need to also understand the other side where they're coming from because maybe there's things you might not have thought of. And now you can come together and find a common ground. That's how common ground is found. This side doesn't like this. This side doesn't like that. You can watch the old Star Trek episodes. It'll show you this. Talking, this doesn't work. If this side is talking and this side is standing there, or this side is talking, or you're doing accusations and stuff, and trust me, these places want to fan these flames. But if you come with an open hand, and this person comes with an open hand, the extreme left, the left and the right, since it seems to always be politics, look, you met in the middle, you came together. Butting hands, not listening, my side, come together. See? So you shouldn't always try to silence everyone and say, well, you're speaking from your privilege, because you also don't know that person's life. You don't know what they dealt with. You don't know what they did. Just because the color of his skin doesn't always mean they had the advantage to everything. Poor is poor, for example. If I turn around, let's say I make $100,000 a year. I do not, I'm just using this as an example. But let's say I make $100,000 a year. Me being a black man in America. Now, a Caucasian person only makes $10,000 a year. You're going to sit there and tell me that they're more privileged than me in life, just period? They're just way more privileged? I could have inherited that or had something come along and, someone gave me something and an inheritance. And I used it smart. I used my brain and worked it properly to keep that kind of revenue in. There's privileges, but people have a counter argument. You can't always shut down people's counter argument. At least that's my thought. You got to hear both sides to find that common ground. But they said it was hate speech. Then you have Elizabeth. She's removed from the Magic program challenging thing for posing. Seeing the thing, she was showing it off, but it was a similar pose to a card. Also removed, and I do remember hearing something about someone in the letter community got removed from Magic for like something too. And it was something that ended up being very minuscule. But basically, it was the green light program. It's the thing you can make content for them or whatever. I've actually known about it before. I know people who was in Magic that did it or wanted to be in it. But you can make content, but they're saying you violated code of conduct. Wizard has gotten very political. A lot of these things have. But people were showing, well, there's art here. Here's this pose. This looks sexual. This looks this way. That looks that way. What's the difference? She's talking about, Miss Eden. She's talking about how she had cleavage on one thing and they never gave her an example of how she violated. But they alleged she didn't do any nudity. She was covered up. But apparently, one tweet says something and boom, there you go. And then you also run into it's weird now that I'm thinking about it, because a lot of these places from YouTube on down, they always say things like, oh, you can't use profanity or nudity, but I saw her thing was covered up. But then there's always other people who also do it but have the right ideals and they get away with it. Look at how many people got canceled, but then look what happened in the makeup community. Only now because of certain things have been happening, but they've been doing this for years and years and years. While other people were getting called out immediately, getting demonetized very quickly, not getting their rewards, all types of stuff. The thing that happened with the Pauls, the thing over happened in Japan with the body and how long it took YouTube to respond, but other people like that snapped like Thanos. And I've been seeing this only because I follow some, because I enjoy the lore. I'm not like heavily into Warhammer, but I seen this myself. Warhammer, I follow some channels. I've seen some things that I've noticed even on some of them channels, because I like the lore of Warhammer, where they kind of started to go through, and I noticed they were kind of talking political like, and I'm like, why is this talking? Just want to know about how the space orcs work with the dead dudes. But you are starting to see it happen there, where now moderators are taking sides. People are taking sides. Like I said, I knew people who do Warhammer. They're talking about it. I've seen people online just randomly looking up Warhammer stuff where they're like, now it's talking about, it went from like religion to politics, that now it's getting to the point people are talking, games are being broken up. These are the stuff that's happening, and like everyone is having a problem because they're like, well, no, you're old fogey, you need to get with the times. And they're like, well, you're the new people. Now with D&D, we experienced that too, where we noticed that some of the newer people came on with their sensitivities, and I've heard stories, I've seen it myself, where we're in groups and things where people are like, I've actually watched D&D stories where people are trying to put their spin and their things on there, and it's like, what are you doing? Why aren't you and they always go against the grain because they're trying to put that PC belief in there, even though that's not the setting, and that is the DM's, the dungeon master's job, to set up the world using the rules that are already displayed there to as a guideline. They set up the world for what it is. But these people are like, well, no, I want it to be this way. And it's like, no. And it started happening, I remember with D&D, when players were like, well, no, you're only supposed to serve the player. You're there to serve me, not you to put me in your story or your world. You're there to do what I say to make me feel awesome, like amazing. And you're just there supposed to just do things so I can feel even cooler, which is not the right way to go. The Dungeon Master is supposed to be the challenge. And it's like the Game Master when you play a video game. It's like the AI. It's like the stuff. They're there to kind of take you down or give you an awesome time in the story. You're there to be an adventurer, but kind of live vicariously through that thing. But people don't want that anymore. And it's really kind of did it, where now people are calling people SJW, other people call them fascists, and it's just happening across the board. They're destroying it. Now I'm starting to see things come up about the anime community, and manga's like, look, we don't want this. Don't censor us, and it's this things, and it's like so weird because we are really honestly turning into that society that was from Demolition Man and Idiocracy. Like, this is stupid. And here's my big take from the tabletops on down. Now, I've seen other people come out with tabletop campaigns on their own and their other own things. If this keeps happening, I'm gonna talk to my DM and my D&D people about possibly not supporting this stuff anymore, because by us giving them money and supporting it, they're thinking, okay, this is all right. Like, a prime example, Forgotten Realms, right? You have Drist. There's other characters, but they only ever write about Drist. But if now they're going to start, let's say now they're going to, this bleeds into the Night Elves, or the Dark Elves, or the Drow, or whatever you want to call them, right? It's going to make Drist's story no longer unique. Because they're bred to be evil. They are this, but they're not black people or anything. They're just a charcoal thing, and depending on whether God did it or if they got corrupted or whatever happened, they got to that point. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You have to have certain races that are villains and things, you can break out of it. Also, too, it does show a lot of less imagination, because you, in D&D, in Forgotten Realms, you also have the main campaign. You have, there's stuff like, Forgotten Son, Greyhawk, Eberron, I think Blackmore. There's a lot of different campaigns, but they don't focus on all those campaigns. They should. They could really expand, but they're so busy being PC, they never make stories for the most part beyond them. And you could, besides Forgotten Realms. And I'm like, you could be making whole stories in these things. Dark Sun is a hardcore one. I think one is called like Ravencroft, I think. But I remember playing that once too. Not with this D&D group, with a different group. So yeah, what's happening is that you're now seeing it flow into anime. It's like they're a bunch of locusts and these Puritans, and they listen, companies. It's like they're locusts. They just keep coming in, changing everything, listening to Twitter, doing whatever they do, and then they move on, and then people have to make up new campaigns and new things in order to counter it. Stop listening to these people. They're not your fans. They're not the people who actually play. It's like Hollywood, comic books, just everything. Everything keeps going, and people are like, well, you're stopping the progression. No, we don't want everything to be political. Video games should not be political. Sometimes I want to have a game where I'm just sitting there fighting a bunch of alien robots. I have my cool big gun. I have my cool superpowers. And I may have my partner and we just go and wreck shop. Nope. People are like, well, how did the aliens feel about that? How did the robots feel? Well, maybe they are. Maybe you're being racist. Maybe you're just not being a good person. How do they feel? How did the robots feel? Maybe you're being racist. Oh, you're being the president. Maybe you're the bad guy. No, stop that. It's like you can't have a villain be a villain. You can't have something anymore. I'm sick of it. And I keep saying I'm working on checking out of a lot of these things, because it's gotten to the point that this is just this is unnecessary and ridiculous. Orcs aren't racist. If you say they are racist, you are being racist. If you say any of those species that are not humans, that are completely made up, are racist. Like, I could make up... Here, it's a water bottle. The water bottle now are the water people. The water people are of the blue. They were bred to be evil and to actually try to poison the reservoirs of everything and then the plants and life and stuff. But the only way you could tell is by the blue. Oh, guess that's racist now because I made them bad. See how stupid that is? You're getting rid of people's jobs. You're screwing people up. You're attacking freedom of speech. If someone's not sitting there blatantly attacking, they're like, hey, I believe this and it's opposite of you. That doesn't make them wrong. It makes them different. There's a difference between someone actually verbally screaming, doing stuff like a lot of people do in these little things versus them saying, well, I don't believe that. I see this differently. Tabletop from Magic on down and everything is about to get ruined. What I suggest people do, go into crowdfunding, see what it is. I know I played a Spellcaster game. There's other ones out there. Like I said, I'm in Link Clownfish. He has a role-playing game that he's going to play with his kids instead of playing D&D. Maybe if you want to play the old D&D. Personally, I liked 4th edition. Some people don't. Some people like 3rd edition, whatever. But I think that it's time that anybody who doesn't like these kind of changes where they're putting politics in something that shouldn't have politics unless the campaign calls for politics. And even so, it shouldn't be our real world politics. It should be something different. Like World of Warcraft. They have the Horde, they have the Alliance. They're two different ideals and they've worked together to do things, but they're two warring nations. You pick the side that you like. But now people are like, well, no, that side's the fascist side and that's it. But like, no. Stop doing this. You're ruining everything. You're taking away people's fun and escapism, and then you're calling them every name in the book. When in all honesty, if they've been playing for the last 10, 20, 30 years, who are you to just to walk in day 2 and say, well, I need to change everything? No. And if you do want to change that, that's great. Get your own group, get your own campaign, change it. But the problem I'm noticing with these people that happen to be, I call them SJWs, they don't want you just to have it. They can't do the thing. And it's a common thread beyond SJWs too, where people have this thing now where they can't let you have fun. You can't enjoy something. So, for example, I could be a fan of BVS, right? There are people out there that will scream at me and call me dumb and stuff because they don't like the movie. No, it's a person's personal preference. They're allowed to like something you don't like. That's called life. It's okay. But what these people keep doing, like Anita and stuff, they keep trying to vilify you. And they vilify these people and they try to destroy their careers and things. And I hope every person that got let go, you seem like good artists, you seem like alright people. I hope you do a comic book, you make up your own game, or you people come together. You know what else it needs? Don't let Wizards buy no more campaigns or any of these other titles. It's too many of these big corporations buying these things and then listening to Twitter. I need people to start making things on their own. Let's get some new games out there. You know what? One of the people on my channel, and I already told him, when he does come out with his fantasy book, I will be bumping it on this channel, and I will. You've seen me. I've already dropped some crowdfunding stuff. I'm going to talk about some more crowdfunding things. I do crowdfund games from time to time. I haven't had the money like I want to, which sucks because I have seen some pretty cool games out there. Go to Kickstarter. Go to Indiegogo. Look up board games. Look up adventures. People are really making some awesome games, man. I have a few. If you want me to show you my game collection, my thing is huge. Like I collect a lot of, I have problems, but my thing is really big, and I can show you some of these ones I grab. Sometimes I can't afford them because I'm getting comics, and they're just too expensive. I can't always throw out $100, but I try, and if I can grab them, I do. But there's people making games and tabletops and stuff. There are alternatives. Don't think that these are the only ones. Go to the alternatives. Get these ones to become big. Maybe when they start having rivalries, like how YouTube, soon Spotify is trying to really do videos and stuff to rival YouTube. These companies need rivals. Disney needs rivals. They need rivals. So it'll reel them in to realize that, hey, maybe this will happen to that. I have Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Patreon video. Well, Indiegogo is a part of Kickstarter, but like where they talk about it and they're rivals. Twitter is now got the rival of Parlay. These people migrate to these things and they do all this stuff and they put these crazy ideas in there. And the problem is they're never even the fans of the franchise, of the thing that they're bashing. I'm just giving an example. Anita Sarkeesian, I know I always bring her up, but she's just such an easy target with these kind of things because she does it so blatantly. There's been people shown that she's had video games of other people's video game stuff. She at one point said she never played video games. Now all of a sudden she's played video games her whole life. That's the kind of people that do this, where they change their narrative to fit their purpose, to change the things. And there's just all these people that keep coming in. We need counter. I want it because that makes balance. You need both sides. I don't want either side to go away, but one side is starting to become a little too influential. And sometimes they make good points, but then there's other times it's like, yo, what are you talking about? Orcs are racist? The community episode, someone's cosplaying a dark elf, now it's blackface? So you're saying black people are inherently evil people that ride spiders? Like, you see where I'm going with this? And now Warhammer is getting annihilated because of this. The Magic community, I've been seeing stuff. I'm not a Magic person, but I've been seeing videos and different people talking about how the Magic community has kind of fell apart. It's wrong. Stop letting these people ruin everything. Or make them their own separate thing inside your thing. Keep the originals, and if they want to do it. And the sad part is, just from my personal experience with D&D, you can make a campaign where the orcs are not racist. In your opinion of being racist, they're not. You can literally do that in D&D. You don't have to change the lore to do it. You know what I mean? All right, the game that I'm playing, that we've played, I've had characters in medieval times with guns. Right now, we live in a sky world on my campaign. A world that people live in the sky, and we have to deal with that. And there's a hierarchy between people that can fly versus people that can't, and how close they are to the ground. That's us making up a campaign. Our DM has taken pieces from one, taken pieces from another, put them together, and built something, but still has a cohesive game. Because you can do that. It doesn't even take a whole lot. You just have to think it through. So please, tabletop community, from the cards to the Warhammers to all the other things. Everyone, if this is something you're tired of, go find the things out there. As a matter of fact, if I find something, I'll even post it. Clownfish put something up as a new game, so that's why I'm going to post this video, or that video on there. This is the Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. I know this is kind of rambly, but it's just ridiculous. Orcs aren't racist. The fantasy world's not racist. If you say that, you are racist. You are the problem. If you believe that, you're the problem. Not everyone else. Same thing with video games, comic books, and everything. If you're sitting there putting all this agenda, forcing it in, and shoehorning it in instead of making a natural progression, you are the thing that you're trying to fight against. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. I don't know if people are going to like this video or not. I'm sorry. It needed to be talked about. I'll see you. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.